Welcome back to the Frith Guild podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host Scott.
And today we have a special guest.
Hi.
Our special guest is Jason Cardova, and we'll be talking about some of his books, his writing styles, and similar to that today. And welcome. And
Thanks for letting on.
Absolutely. And I was going through your books here, and I see you had quite a bit of them, different series, and quite a lot of published works here already. Just a few of them to look at is we have the Kin Wars universe, the Quintus Fox series, and please, for the life of me, if I say something wrong, let me know. I'll correct it.
Okay.
And then we have the Four Horsemen universe, along with several anthologies and short stories. Is that right?
Yeah, I think right last I have 71 short stories and novels in print.
Goodness.
That's insane.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into writing, that kind of thing.
Well, my name's Jason Cardova, like you guys covered already. I've been writing for about 17, 18 years now. I only was published in 2010 for the first time. It's been 15 years now. Wow. Okay. So basically, I was bad-mouthing another writer's book on the publisher's forum to the author, and the publisher said, well, if you think you can do better, do it. So I said, okay, and I wrote my first book that way.
Never been one to turn down a challenge, I see.
No. I'm the guy who says, would you jump off a bridge if all your friends did? I was like, did they dare me to? Then yeah, I'm going.
Peer pressure is real and it works, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
And turned out actually halfway decent at this writing thing. So I was like, well, let's give it a try. And, now, 18 years later, 15 years published, and now I'm an associate editor at Bain Books. I edit anthologies for them. I also write novels. I'm working on a series with Larry Correia with the Monster Hunter memoirs right now. And yeah, this is not the career path I thought I would have, but here we are.
Funny how it turns out. And a lot of your work seem to be, urban fantasy, military, sci-fi. Is there something that draws you towards those genres?
So I was prior service in the Navy. So military science fiction is actually pretty easy to write as long as I don't try to get into the nuts and bolts of how Marines think, because Marines don't think. So
crayons taste good.
And urban fantasy it's a relatively new genre to me. I discovered it through Jim Butcher through the Dresden Files. And I've just kind of delved deeper into that. And I really enjoy the whole idea of secret societies in modern society. So it's a lot of fun to write.
That was my intro into the urban fantasy realm as well. He's a great series there. So if you have time to go through 20 books, look into it.
Now, I've seen that you've worked with several publishers. Did not know that you worked for Bain Books. So I was going to ask if you ever prefer to be traditionally published or self-publish yourself. Did you have books that you self-published?
Yeah.
Or have you kind of gone through traditional?
I started off indie through small press publishers. I've, over the years, worked into self-publishing myself. And then only in the past, I would say 4 years have I been traditionally published. So I've worked with all three methods, and I enjoy them all. I like TradPub because I really don't have to do a lot of work. They cover a lot of the marketing, and they come up with the concept of the covers and everything like that. And they also provide the editing, which is great. Hybrid I like working with the indie presses. I like working with them because they're very responsive to changes. They don't have to fight through legions of bureaucracy to make changes in a manuscript if there's a misspelled word. And being indie, just being in control of my own stuff 100% of the time, knowing where every dime I want to spend goes for marketing it's empowering, and I enjoy it.
That's really cool. Just to be able to kind of experience the different methods of going through. And kind of along with that, you have a few different writing styles, I guess. You have a lot of longer works. You also have a lot of short stories, anthologies. Do you have a preference there that you prefer to dabble in?
No, it's novels. For the longest time, novels were easier to write. And then suddenly I'd be on a short story kick, and short stories are very simple. I can write an 8,000 word short story in 2 days. And then I go back to books. It just really depends on what the moment is, I guess.
Now, with all the different series that you write in, did you have a preference of what genre that you write in?
No, it just goes back to whatever I'm feeling. Like I will not write multiple books in the same series directly one after another. I'll get burned out. So I'll write a book in the Kin Wars, and then I'll shoot over to the Four Horsemen universe, and then I'll tackle a short story in somebody else's, or I'll write a Quintus Fox short story just to make myself feel better, and then I'll go back to writing something else. I tend to hop around, but I write fairly quickly, so it's people usually aren't waiting for a long time for the next book in a series.
I was about to say, you're one of those authors that make everybody wait for forever and a day to get to the next book.
I try not to, but there was a time when I had a new book in every series I was writing and coming out one book a year, guaranteed. And then I got a little distracted.
It's hard to keep up that pace for a long period of time, just to have enough plot to go through and keep all the plot lines running and intact. So very impressive.
So I cheat. I cheat a little bit on that. I don't focus on the plot. I focus on the character. And I don't know if you guys are PG-13 or what your language level is on here, but I usually just pretty much challenge, so what is this idiot going to do next? That's pretty much how I treat my characters.
That sounds like my life. So then are you trying to keep up with this once a year pace? I know you do a lot of work with other authors as well. So how does that come into play? Do you end up working on kind of multiple works, trying to coordinate everything going on?
Yeah, it depends on the author. I just wrote a book with Nick and Kevin Severson. We wrote those two books actually back to back. That was fairly easy to do because it's science fiction, but it was more action-y. I didn't have to worry about a lot of military structure or anything like that. If there's a lot of detail with the world building and everything, I work very closely with my co-author and we set aside times. I can write a science fiction book and a fantasy book simultaneously because they're two different subjects. I don't have to worry about mixing up any kind of magic or technology, anything like that. So that's also a way the way I do it is I'll split my attention between two books at one time. So I can usually knock out about a book in 2 months. If I've got a collaborator, I've done it as fast as 3 weeks.
Shoot.
Which one came out in 3 weeks, if I can ask?
The one it didn't come out. I wrote it with the Monster Hunter Memoirs Fever. I got extremely pissed off at one of my publishers, and I'm a spite writer. So when I get angry, I just pound out words. And I ended up writing that book in 3 weeks, written 3,000 words. And then Larry, sat on it for a while because he had other stuff he had to do before we could go through and start editing the process.
Do they sit there and poke at the bear? Just okay, we need more poke at the bear.
No, no, it was something else. And it's genuinely angry, not just making me annoyed. Going, and I don't get angry very easily. So when I finally do, I just go, okay, you know what? I don't want to go to jail. I'm way too pretty for it, so I'm gonna write.
Now, I did see that you had books that were published in other languages. I saw French and German, I believe. Was that correct?
Yeah, I've also been published in Japanese as well.
What's that like, getting published in another language? Is it just a matter of translation, or do they actually have to go through more of a process?
I think the German and French translations, they actually had a bit of a process where they ran it through multiple people, and I think they even ran it through AI to double check everything. But AI is not perfect.
Right.
The Japanese translation, they hired someone. I had no say. They just paid me. They're like, here, we want the Japanese rights. And I said, okay, fine. And they paid me like $600. And then the translator didn't speak as good English as he led them to believe. So I translated the bio. That friend of mine speaks fluent Japanese, and he about had a heart attack laughing so hard because the translation was so bad.
Oh, goodness.
But I got paid, and I wasn't worried about it. So
I've kind of just wondered that, especially with Fourth Wing being so big, and it's in multiple languages, so it's been one of those. I wonder how that works. And
well, with the amount of money she brings in, they hired a fluent English, German, or English French translator.
A tier higher on that translator scale.
They didn't get Joe down in the mailroom who said he can speak the language. And he's secretly at night on Google Translate trying to figure it out.
That was me in high school for German.
Very cool.
Yeah, we didn't even have the internet when I was in high school, so I don't know.
You had a designated like computer lab that you had to go to. That was about the extent of our internet availability.
Yeah, I took typing on a typewriter, like an honest to God electric typewriter.
Fair enough. Before we age yourself too much.
So, interview with you came recommended from Shammy. How do you know Shammy? How'd you come to meet her?
Well, it's kind of an open secret now, but I'm one of the administrators for the Bane Fantasy Adventure Award contest. And she ended up being a finalist 2-3 years ago. I can't remember when. And I had no idea until after the winners were announced. I was like, oh, hey, I know that name. We crossed paths once at a convention, and it was like, hey, friend me on Facebook. Okay, fine, whatever. And just ended like that. And I really enjoyed her story. And I asked her, I was like, well, what else do you have? She's like, well, I've got this urban fantasy, and would you mind taking a look at it? And it was the Time Marked Warlock. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll read it. And I read it, and I absolutely loved it. So I gave her a cover. I was like, hey, can I cover blurb this? I know I'm just a nobody, but... And she's like, you'd be willing to do that? I was like, yeah, please, can I? And so I got to cover blurb, like my very first novel, and that was pretty cool. It's a fantastic... I don't know, you guys have probably read it, but it is fantastic. Yep. But I just finished the second one 2 weeks ago, and I'm sitting here like, all right, Shammy, where's the third? Come on.
It's coming. It is coming. Don't you worry. She is like you. They turn over quick.
I had recently read one of her arcs that she's having published through Athen, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Words of Power. I just finished that like a week ago, and I was like, I know this isn't even published yet, but when is the next one coming out?
Yeah, I got to read the short story that's based on before she wrote the book.
Very cool.
What's that like?
That was wild. We went back and forth about it after I read it, and I was like, I told her, I was like, I like the book. I just had some questions, and she went back and forth. She's like, well, actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna turn this into a novel anyway. I was like, cool. Well, when it's done, let me know so I can read it.
We definitely noticed that as a trend with Shammy of like anytime she puts anything out, it's like, okay, like finish it in a week. Okay, when's the next one? And like, I need to know.
Yeah.
Now, as far as being working for a traditional publisher, and again, I opened up a whole set of questions since we have somebody that works within a publisher. I know Shammy has talked about self-publishing, indie publishing, that kind of thing. What are, I guess, the major differences that we see from a traditional publisher like Bane to self-publishing?
Well, the time for starters. Larry and I turned in Monster Hunter Memoirs Fever in 2021, and it didn't get out to 2023, just because the way the publishing schedule works. Publishing works on 3 seasons: spring, summer, and fall. There is no winter in publishing. Every season has 4 months, and so in order to schedule for the upcoming season, that like right now, we just scheduled the fall 2025 season. We have to have all the books scheduled, ready to go, so we have to know what the books are coming in. So sometimes you already have them in, sometimes we're kind of waiting for the author to make last minute changes, and we're like kind of getting nervous and checking our wristwatches. The author doesn't have the book in yet. Oh boy. Sometimes
part of publishing.
So we try to cut it to where we know the author has the book in, it's on the schedule 6 months, 8 months in advance. So everything's ready to go. We have the marketing in place, ready to go well in advance. Some books we don't really have to do a lot of marketing for, because like David Weber's going to sell, especially if it's an Honorverse book. We just literally say, it's an Honorverse book, and the sales team's like, we got it. We're fine. But and then also there's so many different sets of eyes that will look at a manuscript as it goes through the process, from first draft to typesetting to everything to production. It's so many different pairs of eyes, and that's one thing I like working about Bane is we don't have little cabals where, oh, this is my author, you can't look at what my author writes. So we all read everything that comes in. And that way no author is like abandoned on accident because the editor left or something and nobody knew what was going on. So, and we're very small also, so everybody has to help out with everybody else doing different things.
So do you read a wide variety of what gets edited, or are you kind of...
I read everything we publish. I'm a shockingly fast reader. Tony usually will send me the manuscript when she first gets it in, and I'll have it read before she even opens it.
Jeez.
Whoa. So, like, I read Larry Correa's final book that he wrote, The Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. He turned it in to Tony at 2 o'clock. I had it done by 6 that night.
That's insane.
So I can retain about 90% of what I read too. So that's.
Is this just like a natural talent, or do you have some like secret hack that you can show the rest of us who are spending days reading books?
I don't have ADHD, so when I'm reading, I'm able to hyper focus, which is one of the side effects / downsides. And also when I read, I just kind of like, I'm staring at the words and my eyes are tracking every word, reading them out of order, but somehow it works in my brain. I don't understand how I do it. It drove my ESL teachers nuts when I was in school. So it's...
It's very cool is what it is. It is turning it into a superpower, that's for sure.
I write the same way too, though. I'll write the books out of order.
And with being an author yourself, working for a publishing company, do you kind of get like that, I hate to say like the inside scoop on being able to make it go a little bit faster, but does it make it easier, I guess, to be working with Bain when you're publishing through them?
Tony does not play favorites. I wish he did, because man, I hate playing. But no, like I just turned in a book to her actually, and I asked her, I was like, because it's me, do you want me to go through the slush pile? She's like, no, I've already published one of your books. You get to skip the line. I was like, great, cool, okay.
Hey, there's a perk in every job. You just got to find it.
Yeah.
Kudos to you for wanting to write, and the amount that I'm sure that you read on a daily basis at work itself. Because I know I listen to a book while I'm driving, so I'm listening to about 2 hours worth of audiobooks. I get home, I probably read, I try to get about 50 chapters or so a day. And like you do with completely different genres, so that way you can keep everything straight. And everybody's always asking me, like, how do I do it? So I'm reading an urban fantasy right now, and I'm listening to an epic fantasy, like zero comparison to the two.
Yeah. Like I'm reading Brian Trent's Perdition Storm, which is the next Black Tide Rising novel coming out in November. And I'm also reading books 5, I think, of Dungeon Crawler Carl. Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's book 5. I don't know. It's got this guy holding a severed head above his head on the cover. I don't know what book that is.
So if there are ARC copies needed...
Well, we don't do print ARCs anymore. We do the electronic ones. And about 25 years ago, someone hacked into the Bain database because David Weber had talked about turning in his most recent Honorverse book, and somebody didn't want to wait for it to go on sale in 6 months. So they hacked our database and they stole the book. And Jim Bain was like, you know what? If people are willing to buy the advanced reader copies before they go on sale in bookstores, let them. So we actually sell our e-ARCs and people buy them just so they can read the book before everybody else. It's nuts, but people do it.
I wouldn't put it past myself to do it. Like, there's definitely certain series I could see myself being like, yeah, I would pay to read it early.
Like, trying to think of the big one that everybody would know. Oh, so we published one book in Christopher Rocchio's Sun Eaters series. We got Disquiet Gods, and then DAW bought it back, and they're republishing. But when that e-ARC went on sale, it was the biggest spike in one-day sales we'd seen in like 20 years. It was nuts. They crashed our servers.
Oh my gosh. Moving back into you as an author, and I'll stop picking your brain about you as a publisher. What kind of, is there any like rituals, routines, things you have to do to kind of get yourself settled down at your desk to write, put those words into the document?
I've got a pretty set routine. I get up in the morning, feed the cats, because otherwise they will not leave me alone. I'll get my coffee. I need the caffeine to just wake up. Shower. If I don't shower, I can't write. Weird, but I have to shower in the mornings. And then I'll sit down and I'll write from about 6:45 to 9. And then I'll do my Bane stuff throughout the day. And in between then, if I have short breaks or something, I'll just slide over and keep writing, because I have my work laptop here and then my personal laptop there. It's like one of those L-shaped desks. So I just kind of have a swivel chair and I'm just going back and forth. And Tony's given me permission to do this, so I'm not getting in trouble if I don't. And then I usually stop and I don't write in the afternoons. I'll come home, eat dinner, feed the cats again, and then I have a screened-in back porch that looks over the woods behind my apartment, and there's nothing out there but just trees. So I'll sit out there and I'll write until 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
That's a full day.
Yeah, it's pretty, like I said, you get into a habit, you don't even realize how much writing I do in a day until like the end of the day I've written 2,500 words. It's like, oh, cool, okay, awesome.
That's very cool. And do you have a favorite series to write in?
Well, we're gonna get jealous of each other.
Don't pick a favorite child, but if you had to pick one.
It really just depends on the mood I'm in. Like right now, I'm really digging my Quintus Fox books. I'm having a lot of fun writing those. Once I stop those and I go back over to Monster Hunter, I'm going to have fun getting those again with Larry. And then when Melissa Olthoff and we continue our Bronze Legion books, that's going to be a lot of fun as well. It really is, it's just whatever I'm writing, I'll dive full in, and that's my favorite book to write at the moment. And it's kind of a, pretty simple answer, but
sometimes it is simple answers.
Yeah.
Occam's razor, simplest ones there.
What is one of your favorite characters that you've created throughout all of your different series? And give us a little background on the series that you're going to be talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay, so one of my favorite characters I've ever written was actually started off as a side character, and he turned into the main character as the series went along. It's Andrew from the Kin Wars. He is the brother of the main character, Gabriel. And originally I just had him as a side character, but I realized the book was too short and I needed more scenes, so I had scenes with his point of view in it. And it turned out I actually really enjoyed writing him. So he ended up dominating the series, and I could give this spoiler, the book's been out like 5 years now. When I killed the main character of the series, only a couple people were upset because Andrew was so much more popular.
That is quite the character arc there, from side to main to the only one living. Yeah. So
yeah. And then the other one would be Quintus Fox. I have no idea. Actually, I do know where he came from. I wrote about his ancestor, who was a famous bounty hunter in the Wild West, whose name was Dr. Tobias Fox, because I like Jonah Hex. And I don't know if you guys like reading comics a lot. I wasn't allowed to growing up, but Jonah Hex was the one I remember reading. And I wanted to create a character like that. And then I got distracted and didn't write Tobias for years. And then one day I was bored and I was like, hey, what if I put him in space, like Firefly? And then I was like, but what if Jane is the captain of the ship, not Malcolm? And now that's where Quintus Fox came from.
Very cool.
That's an awesome leap right there.
And then
it was a challenge, but I enjoy writing. I think I've got 5 or 6 stories now in that. And then the books, of course.
Awesome. And then any advice that you would give to other up-and-coming writers other than trashing the forums?
I don't quit. It is a slog. 99% of the authors out there have been rejected so many times they don't even keep tracking. Never stop writing. Always do it every day. Even if you're like, I've got writer's block, sit down and pound out 200 words. That's 4 sentences. Like, I hate this stupid writer's block. It's not letting me write my book. You just have to get in the mental habit of sitting down. Okay, this is my writing time. Great. And this is going to get me in trouble. Stay away from writers groups. They're not helpful. They really aren't. having friends who are writers who are willing to take a look at your stuff is good. Having writers group where they're constantly nitpicking, not good, because there's always going to be one or two in the group who, if anybody else has success, are going to get jealous. And they're going to nitpick harder, and they're going to make you feel pretty poorly about yourself. Having a good stable of friends who are writers or aspiring writers, but not like writers group where we have to write this project every week. No.
All right.
I'm still.
And as far as like publishing goes,
I said I'm still going to get in trouble for that one.
so as far as publishing goes, do you have a recommendation for the self-publishing, indie publishing, traditional publishing, or just kind of whatever fits your style?
Whatever fits your style. If you do self-publish, hire someone who knows how to do the typesetting on the interior of the book. It's worth it to have that nice, clean, all the margins set. Understand what the gutter margin versus the regular margin is on a print. That right there will make your books look 10 times better than what's out there indie wise.
And I realize we haven't had much of a chance to let you talk about your books. Do you want to talk about a couple of them right now and kind of explain what they're about, kind of background, that kind of thing?
Wow, I've got a lot though.
A couple that you're currently working on. Okay. Maybe not finished series.
I'm working on the Quintus Fox books. Like I said, it's Jane was the captain of the Firefly in space. Same kind of cybernetic augmentations, crazy stuff. Quantum wolves because every man needs a dog, even though it's a 200-pound killing machine, but whatever.
Sounds good to me.
Wolfroth and I are writing about the French Foreign Legion, but we put them in space and we call them the Mars Foreign Legion. So we just turned in that book to Tony Weiskopf. That was a lot of fun to write. And then the Monster Hunter Memoir series, which is pretty much the best-selling series I've done. Larry Correia wrote Monster Hunter International, national bestseller, New York Times best-selling series, and then he had some spin-offs that come up. And he and I were talking about it, and he invited me to write it. And we're writing in the 70s, which is before the current storyline takes place, but we can tie in events there into the main storyline. And I've really enjoyed writing those books.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to wrap things up with our Rizzle round. If you happen to read more of Shammy's books, especially the Frith Chronicles series, which is kind of where we're basing on the podcast in, but again, we love talking to authors and people outside of the genre, you will understand later on about what Rizzles are. But it's just basically kind of like a lightning round, a quick, short answer. If you were to be going to Hogwarts, what house would you be in?
Ravenclaw.
Ooh, I like it. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Yes. I do both.
I think that's the best answer to date. Do you prefer hardcover or ebooks when you're reading? Tea or, you answered that earlier, coffee. Angry bean juice make heart go brrr.
Yes.
A favorite writing spot?
My back porch.
Hey, I'm just going to say this about North Carolina, since you're new here. Enjoy it for as long as you can until the humidity hits, and then you're going to just have to go inside. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is summer number 3, so...
Okay. Are you a villains or an anti-heroes person?
Villains. I don't like anti-heroes. It feels lazy to me. If you're going to write a villain, be the villain. Don't be the villain disguised as an anti-hero.
Now, do you prefer board games or video games?
Video games, actually.
Which console?
I have a PS5 and also a computer.
Okay. Master Race PC.
Yes.
And then one sentence that kind of captures your writing style, or close to.
Utter chaos with a dash of, ooh, that was shiny.
I think that's going to be the title of the thumbnail. And in closing, with how can people find you, your books, and your social media?
I have a website, jasoncardova.com. I have an author's page on Amazon. It's too long. It's Amazon. And I also am on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, as Warp Cordova, one word. That's pretty much it. I don't really do a lot of social media activities and stuff, and my website gets updated once a month, if I remember. And Twitter, I just share memes because memes are fun.
Exactly. Gotta lighten the mood up for everybody. Sounds like I got lucky when I reached out to you on Facebook then. Or did I reach out on Facebook?
Yeah, I don't usually, I'm not usually on Facebook very much. Actually, you got a hold of me email through my website.
Okay, that's what it was. So I can't remember. I did too much. Well, we do thank you so much for coming on today, and I'm going to get all of your links down in the description below so that way everybody can go and look up how to find you, your books, all of the fun, good stuff, because you're taking the time out today. We're going to make sure we're going to at least advertise and help get your published works out there as well. We absolutely thank you so much for coming on, and definitely looking forward to getting our second half of Master Arcanist in the Frith Chronicles series. Again, Jason, once you start reading through there, definitely check out the podcast because we go over 5 chapters at a time with the Frith Chronicles.
It's on my list.
Well, with your reading speed, writing, so. You'll be through it in a couple days.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. Scott, did you have anything you wanted to say before we leave?
No, it's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. This has been a blast.
Absolutely. All right. Bye-bye.